Welcome to how Metabase can take your data to the next level. So Metabase is an awesome, amazing open source data analytical product, and it integrates seamlessly with Aspen Discovery and Koha. And that's my dog in back. And I can just say I have used Metabase in my own job at Bywater for giving me these wonderful curated lists of libraries that have celebrated anniversaries. And I've used that to see who has celebrated 10 years and 5 years with us and use that to send out gifts. There's so many ways Metabase can be used. And so today, the lovely Jessica Zero is here, our head of sales and outreach at Bywater, and she is going to do a deep dive into all Metabase can do. So thanks so much.
Thanks, Elise. As we kick things off here today, please know you can ask questions in chat, and as we go through, we will do a live demonstration. So the first thing we will start off with is Metabase features. So as Elise mentioned, Metabase is an open source business intelligence analytical tool. Now, what does that mean, Jesse? It means we can analyze all that fun data that we get out of our Koha system, Aspen, libkey, whatever you're using in your library, but you can also do CSV uploads. So if you have data that you've collected from an outside source, whether you're using a spreadsheet to track your events, or perhaps you got a spreadsheet from one of your vendors, this is a great way to pull that information together in one spot. So today I'm going to talk to you about all the fun features that Metabase has, how you can bring those into your day-to-day workflow, and how it ties into all of those products that we're supporting right now at Bywater Solutions. We'll kick things off talking about analytical dashboards. Now, dashboards can be private or public, and this is a great way for your community and constituents to see what the library provides. Next, we'll talk about query builders. So query builders make it easy to pull information into one spot, meaning I don't have to know SQL. I can visually pick things and tie them in together. Then I'll talk a little bit about models. Models allow you to create and customize data, giving it one place to start. Think of models as a way to say, I want to look at holds in my system, and we're going to create a model. And then people can build upon that information, whether I want to look at holds at a particular branch, or maybe I want to look at holds that were placed on Saturday nights. This is a nice way to be able to kind of refine that information. And then, of course, we'll finish things off by talking a little bit about CSV uploads and how you can harness that information to really bring it into your system. Okay, so the first thing we'll talk about is just the basics of what Metabase can do. So the first thing we'll think about is, how is Metabase connecting us to these databases within the system? For anything that Bywater Solution supports, we will connect via an API to bring that data into the Metabase system. So Koha, Aspen, libkey, whatever you're using that we support, we can tie that information into your Metabase system. This allows you to create questions. So that'll be the first thing we hit. Think of questions as a way to save queries and then bring visualizations to life. Dashboards are a way for you to take those questions that you've created and then bring them into a chart or a board. Now, dashboards are great because they're a way that you can say, all right, I want to look at collection development. Let's look at our purchase suggestions. Let's look at what we're purchasing in this particular department. And then you can bring all of those reports together on one screen and organize them. Then you have collections. Collections are folders that allow you to organize all of those reports that you've created and also manage how your staff access them. So you can set permissions up to access those particular collections within the system. Finally, we have those models. Those are ways for you to view that curated data from the database. So again, think about that example of our holds. Next, we'll dive in and talk a little bit about dashboards. So dashboards are really cool. If you love organizing data and viewing all that data in one spot, dashboards are the way to do it. Now, they are easily set up, and you can bring in those reports. You could also tie in images, text, to make it an interactive presentation to share with your community or even constituents. Now, again, dashboards can be private, meaning your staff is analyzing data, or they can be public, meaning you can share a public URL with your users and they can view that. We're going to show off two of our favorite libraries that have implemented the public dashboards feature and are proactively pushing that out to their users. Next, we'll talk a little bit about query builders. This is an easy way, and probably one of the coolest features, that users can build graphical interfaces and interactive charts. Now, if you are using reports in your Koha system now, you know we can go right into the reports module and either write out an SQL statement and build our report that way, or we can go to the Koha reports library and copy and paste it in, or you can use that guided reports wizard. Well, what the query builder does in Metabase is it allows you to select data from the tables in the database, join them together, summarize, and group the data. So in theory, you don't really need to know all of the intricate SQL statements. You can pick and choose from dropdowns, which we'll show you. And then models. Again, think of models as a place that you can curate data from tables within the same database. So this is almost like a template. That's the way I like to think about it, where you can save a question for others to use as a starting point when they're building a report or looking to analyze data. Finally, we'll dive a little deeper into CSV uploads. We always love to show off what our partner libraries are doing, and some of the examples that we have on our demo site were shared with us from some of our libraries that were using pretty extravagant spreadsheets to track their events and programs at the library. And we'll show you kind of how we brought that to life and how they are using that now within the system. All right, so now we're going to jump in and we're going to do a live demo so you can see how we bring some of this information to life within the system. So first, we're going to start with the Metabase homepage. So this is our demo site that is connected to our Koha sandbox, our Aspen sandbox, our libkey sandbox, and Coral, which is an open source ERM. And so what we'll do today is we'll drive through and we'll talk about all of those different features that we mentioned for how you can make Metabase an impactful reports system for your library. So on this homepage, we have our landing set up to our circulation dashboard. That way, when everyone walks in or logs into the Metabase system, they're going to be able to see anything that's happening. So we have ours broken down by circulation by item type, circulation by patron category, circulation by week, holds by week, and then some of our weekly statistics. I want to give a big shout out to Ian Walls, who's one of our special project managers, and he works with our Metabase implementations and support. And he has helped us get some of these reports set up in our Metabase system. These were ones that were requested from our partner libraries, so you could see some real examples of how Metabase can tie in your Koha data right into the system. So again, this is just a quick report that's showing me where, most of my information is coming from. Again, this is hooked up to our sandbox site, so you'll be able to see that we have a breakdown of all of that information. If I wanted to look at that particular category, I can select that, and it will actually show me the information for that particular report. So it makes it easy to analyze that data. You can even tie in filters within the system. So right now I'm looking at the previous 12 months, but if I wanted to change that to say, show me the last 30 days, or show me the last 2 years, you can build that information in. You can also filter by branch. So my Koha database system is set up as a 6-branch system. So this allows us to go in there and look at that information and filter it out. So dashboards are a really great way for you to customize that information and show it off. And I'll show a couple more examples with dashboards too. The next thing we'll talk about are those models. So if we look here on the left-hand side menu, the first thing it's going to show is our collection. Remember, collections are ways to organize and manage your data. So you can see we have our Aspen, our Koha, our door counts, our libkey, and our programming and events. Down below, we have the ability to browse. So if I go into models, remember models are going to be those starting places. I can come in here and look at all of the different information that we have pulled up. So we have the borrower's information without any of the PII data attached. And this allows us to come in and I can see the borrower number, card number, city, state, branch code, etc. So this is pulling right from the database. I can see that information. Down below, I can hit this visualization button, and this will allow me to turn it into a bar or line or pie chart. And you'll notice there's just lots of different options here that you can pull into the system. Over on the right-hand side, you'll notice you can download these full results at any time, either as a CSV, an Excel spreadsheet, or JSON. And at the top of the screen, you'll even see options to do extended filtering. Maybe you want to look at a particular city or zip code within the data. You can summarize it further. Maybe you want to pull in a little more information about the average or a minimum count. And then you also have the ability to come in and make changes via the editor. And so the editor will bring me into that query builder. So here's where I can select that information for the particular table and columns that I have, and then narrow down that information. The next thing in our models that we'll see is the ability to jump into some of those existing ones. So again, this is really a great place to start for your users, for them to be able to come in here and either edit the existing one, or of course, come over and duplicate this and use it as a starting base. The next thing we'll talk about is the ability to view databases. Now, what I really like about this is if you're into looking at the schema and you want to see all of the columns from a particular table, this is a really nice way to do it. So I'm going to jump down and we're going to take a look at our Koha database tables. Now, this is going to show me everything that's within the system. Right now, our database that we're connected to is on 2411, and I think there's about 275 tables within Koha. So what this allows me to do is I can come in here and actually click any one of these. So I'm going to go into our acquisition booksellers. So that's going to be all of the vendors that I have set up within the system. Now, what I like about this is I can come in here and see where I'm missing data. So right now I can see I don't have address information in for Brodart or Midwest Tapes or ProQuest. So this is a great way to kind of see where you're missing data, or if you just want to analyze everything at once, you can come in here and look at that. And remember, you can come in and also download it. So if I wanted a CSV, I can come in here and download that information. And just to show you the equivalent over in Koha, if we come over here to our vendors interface, this is where it's pulling that data from. So this is our acquisitions booksellers. So if I click on that, for example, Baker and Taylor, I can see all of those fields. But what's nice about looking at the Koha model in Metabase is I can see them all in one spot. So now if I come in here, I can see all that raw data from that Baker and Taylor entry. You'll notice for those databases, it will show anything that you're connected to in the system. So if we take a look at libkey, again, libkey is one of our open source products that we support for client reservations within the system. And this allows us to come in and see that information as well. So it really is nice to be able to log in, kind of see how things are set up, and look at that data. Now, let's go back and talk about creation. In the upper right-hand corner, you're going to see a new button. That's going to allow you to either build out a question, an SQL query, a dashboard, collection, or model. So if we come over here and start with question, what this will allow us to do is either search for an existing one that we have set up, or look at any of our recent ones that we were interacting with. So if I come over here, we'll stick with our borrowers table. This is our query builder. So now I can come in here and say, maybe I don't want all of the columns within the borrower table. I just want specific ones. And so this allows me to go through and select the ones that I want. Down below, I have the ability to join data, but it will actually show me either those recents or the tables that I have within the system, or I can specify by a particular collection. The next step allows me to filter. So now if I want to filter, let's say by city, I can come in, add that filter. So it'll give me that drop down when I'm selecting. And then of course, my last option here is to summarize. This will allow me to come in and again, select how I want to view that information. Once I'm done, I'll hit this visualize button, and this will bring together the data for that particular borrower's table and how we've selected it. If I want to visualize it a step further, I can come down to the bottom and maybe say I want to look at it as a line chart or a pie chart, whatever it may be within the system. And that easily allows me to bring that information into a more visual aspect. Once I'm done, I can save this in the system, and that will allow me to add it to one of my collections. Another way to build out a query is to enter that raw SQL data. This allows me to come in and essentially select where I'm pulling it from. So we'll stick with Koha. And just as I would write a report in the Koha reports module, I can do that same step right here within Metabase. So if you have a great report that you like within the system, this will allow you to just write that report or copy and paste it right into the system. Another thing you can build from the interface is a dashboard. So again, remember, dashboards are a way to bring all of that data into one spot. So whether you're building out a patron dashboard or a collection development dashboard or circulation, whatever it may be, this is your starting spot. This allows you to come in and select what kind of data that you want to analyze within the system. From here, once you enter in that information, you can begin building out those dashboards within the system. So let's just say we want to build a patron dashboard. This allows us to create it, and then from here we can build it out. So we can either come in and grab our charts. So maybe we want to add our borrowers by state, borrowers who are gone, and so on. It allows us to easily drag and drop things within the system. If we've brought in a report and maybe we want to remove it, we can do that too. Now you can add additional fields to dashboards. For example, we could add headings in, we could add in just text, we can link out, we can embed iframes, and then of course we can even add action buttons. So dashboards are a great way for you to be able to kind of customize that look and feel. Now I have two examples here pulled up that will show you. The first is McKinney. If you've seen me talk about Metabase before, McKinney was one of the first libraries to kind of jump in and really dive into Metabase and tie in all the things. So we're looking at McKinney's Aspen Discovery interface, and they actually have a link right on their menu to statistics. That takes you out to their public statistics dashboard. This will give a live look again, pulling all of that data from Koha, analyzing in Metabase, and creating a public dashboard. So you can view all of the information. I can see, active users in the library today, the number of checkouts, people active this month's circulation by collection code, and they have a link to some other reports right from the main page. So this can be customized however you want. The next example I have here is Anna Community Library. And I'm sure for those that are active in Slack or in Koha US, you all know Ed Veal. Ed put together this beautiful public page as they are building and opening a new library called the Anna Community Library. They're also in Texas. And I really love what they've done here because they've brought in their branding. They're building their library now, so they're allowing users to self-register within the system. And you can see as they purchase material, the new items that they're bringing in. And then if we scroll down a little bit further, you'll also be able to see some of those digital resources and then the construction of their library itself. So you can see it as you're going through within the system. So it's really nice to be able to kind of watch this happen and publicly see that information as a live look for the users. Now, I'm going to come back over here to our information in our model site. And the last thing I'll talk about here is the creation of collections and models. So again, remember, collections are a way to kind of organize and manage your information. So this allows you to come in and you can see existing collections that are in there that you have permission to as a user. And then, of course, you also have the ability to create those models. And this allows you to come in and build those within the system. So whether you're building it from a particular SQL model, this is a great starting point as a user or administrator to help your staff members build out those reports within the system. Okay, so now that we've talked about those basics of Metabase, I just want to share our next upcoming presentations that we have going on for our Supporting in Success webinar series. This we have going on from July to December of this year. Koha, Aspen, Metabase, and LibKey. Kate, Elise, Adam, and I will be here talking about more of the products that we support and how you can integrate those in your library every day. It's Angela asking, will it look at data in a plugin? And the answer is yes, you can access data from a Koha plugin. Okay, so it looks like we have a question here. Is there a way to connect this into the MARC data to better understand the shape of our catalog? We're interested in updating certain RDA standards, finding misspellings, correcting, reorganizing information and other hyperlinks. Absolutely. So again, you can create or bring in a query that looks at targeted fields. So for example, if you're looking at that 856 subfield U, you can absolutely focus in on those particular things. For example, for RDA standards, if you want to just target specific MARC fields like the 336, the 337, or the 338, you can absolutely do that. Christy asks, is there a good template that you can follow for making a dashboard? Christy, that's a great question. When you're setting up dashboards within the system, I don't think there's a way to do templates, but that's a great question I can throw out to Ian and see if he has any suggestions or a way to add those within the system for sure. How do you add a date filter to a dashboard? Great question. So what this allows you to do is when you're building these out, you can add in these filters, which allow you to select where you're pulling that information from. So if you want to select a date picker, you would use the date picker and add that in as a filter, and then it would select the date and time from the filter settings. Great questions. Okay, thank you so much, everyone, for joining us today and being a part of our demonstration. We will share the presentation and recording to this video and pass on the Q&As that people asked, and talk about those templates too. Thanks so much and have a great day.